So, I read Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House a while ago, and I'm afraid to say it was not a good time for me. In fact, I dare say that it was a really very not good, terrible experience for me personally. I'm not trying to attack anyone who does like it. Far from it. There are some elements of the story that I can see the appeal of, if nothing else. But frankly, personally, for me, I hated that book. Um, and I'm honestly not wholly sure why I'm filming this video, but I figured I'd give it a go. The Haunting of Hill House is an interesting story involving ghosts and trauma and the occult. Um, but to say that it is a haunted house story is actually disingenuous, because it is actually a story that convinces you it's a haunted house story when it's actually about a haunted person. That person is Eleanor, who is, how shall I put this, bat crap crazy. Um, which, no, that's actually not fair. She's a very real character, and I'll give Shirley Jackson credit for that. I mean, Eleanor is a woman who is quite almost, she's full of these resentments and hostilities. She's a very normal person who cannot cope with the problems in her life. She lets both things great and small eat at her and make her a worse person as a result. She's very bitter and unhappy, and as I said, it's been a while since I've read the book, but as I recall, she comes across as deeply troubled and hostile and, as I said, unhappy, and she's just not a very pleasant protagonist. And my, does she hate her associates. Basically, this guy, Dr. Montague, invites Eleanor and some other people to join him in researching this haunted house, Hill House. Um, and she is invited because she has kind of a past with the paranormal. I think she had some sort of ghost experience when she was young. Um, but the only other person to accept this invitation is Theodora, an artist, I think, who Eleanor kind of hates and resents for being like, as I remember, she kind of hates her for being attractive and serene and very cool, um, which doesn't seem fair. And I don't recall Theodora being like ever doing anything to Eleanor exactly. Actually, that might not be true. I think on account of Eleanor's innate standoffishness, I think there there was like some friction between them and pretty much everyone and Eleanor, including Dr. Montague and also the actual like heir to the house. I think his name's Luke. Um, he's like a guy who's hanging around, and I think Eleanor likes, but she also kind of despises him for all these complex reasons. Maybe because he doesn't like her back, and it's, as I said, it's a whole thing. And I guess that's kind of the root of my problems personally with The Haunting of Hill House is that Eleanor is a very hard protagonist to follow. And personally, I'm just not the sort of person who falls for the unreliable narrator a lot of the time. It's very rarely is it done well, I think. Um, and it's a hard thing to do well, also. And in the case of Eleanor, she's there's some interesting aspects to her character, and Montague even suspects that she's kind of up to something throughout the story. We get this story about Hugh Crane, who was like the old original owner of the house years and years and years ago, and how uh, the story with his children, and it's a story that doesn't really go anywhere exactly, but it has all the, like, his children have like a complicated history to them, and there's devil worship and the occult, and it all, we don't get an answer to any of it, and in the end, I think the implication is that, and this is probably a good time to say spoiler alert. Um, yeah, you've been warned. Spoilers, slight spoilers. The implication is that most of the spooks and spookenings that happen in this book are either hallucinations or possibly even psychic anomalies. So, like, that the only ghosts in Hill House are the ghosts that Eleanor and Montague and Theodora and Luke brought to the house, which is kind of interesting, actually. Except we are stuck inside Eleanor's head for it all. And the problem with being in her head is that she is, again, that well done, but realistically dull and angry character. I'm sorry if I'm sorry to say she comes across as kind of horrible. And at least that's my memory of the character. And being one so interested in like occult stories as I am, I was kind of let down by the lackluster ghost presence, the Hugh Crane stuff not going anywhere. And we do get some cool, creepy scenes in the book, but it is kind of drowned by the humdrum play by play of the sort of day by day issues, and also by the kind of insufferable characters. Right, even Montague has his issues, and Theodora and Luke and them just the characters didn't grab me for some reason. Um, at least that's the way I remember the book. I did read it more than a year ago, which I know this is all so harsh, and I'm sure the book is better than I remember. Um, but I've had a hard week working on my own fantasy novel, and it's honestly kind of cathartic just to get this off my chest and share what I don't like for a change. I do not like The Haunting of Hill House. Um, I also don't like Dune, The Wheel of Time, Taylor Swift, and the game of chess. But those are topics for another day. Um, Thank you for taking the time to listen. I've been Connor Landon Freeman, author, game designer, and YouTuber now, apparently. Um, and if you'd like to hear me talk about more nerdy stuff, mostly stuff that I do like and enjoy, because I don't think negativity is sustainable or really all that good for the spiritual health of a person, then you can feel free to like and subscribe and like, if you will, and hit the bell icon so you always know when I upload new videos. I'll have more for you soon. Until then, bye.